Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, astrologer for janspiller.com, here with your November 2024 astrological overview. There's a lot going on this month. It feels kind of like a turning point. It's also the election month in the United States. I'm actually not an astrologer that really dips into politics or predictions too much. So you can find that other places on YouTube if you're looking for a presidential election prediction for the US. But I think once you hear the energies afoot in November, you may agree with my overall assessment that there's some disruption. Things are at this turning point. So I'm really hoping for a smooth transfer, no matter how this election goes. But I could see with some retrograde energy coming up as we move into 2025. Not sure how this is all going to play out, but like I say, this is not my forte. I'm much more passionate about helping individuals with astrology, how it could apply to them. And so you can make your own assessments after listening to this report. Maybe it will offer some additional insights to the climate of November. One thing is we start the month and we do have the opportunity to take initial steps down a new path before we enter a string of interplanet retrogrades that will be in effect between November 25th, 2024 and April 12th, 2025. That's right. There's going to be interplanet retrogrades almost nonstop between November 25th, 2024 and April 12th, 2025. Use the days before November 25th, before that Mercury retrograde starts, to initiate contact with new people, commit to new plan, make decisions, and map out objectives for the coming months. The sooner we can settle on decisions that make sense to us, the better. By November 7th, we'll be entering the shadow of the next Mercury retrograde cycle, which will begin on November 25th. So at least the November 4th elections will not be during Mercury retrograde the way they have been in the recent past. So we have that going for us. But you can use the shadow period that starts November 7th to move forward cautiously. I always call that the yellow light phase. Things are starting to slow down, but we're not in the official retrograde yet. So again, I encourage you to do as much for yourself personally that might involve doing something new or contacting someone new before November 25th. Now, we have support from the outer planets this month that's really going to help us on a big picture level with long-term commitments, pursuing a dream. We've got Saturn stationing direct on November 15th, and that will encourage us to follow through with promises to ourselves and others. We're also going to have favorable energies from Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto that encourage breaking free from limitation and allowing ourselves to envision the outcomes we desire. Now, the big headline this month is Pluto moving into Aquarius on the 19th of November. So for the past 2 years, Pluto has been hovering on the edge of Capricorn and Aquarius. But after November 19th, Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and it will remain in that sign until March 8th of 2043, which at that point it will begin transitioning between the signs of Aquarius and Pisces. So after feeling the heavy authority-focused influence of Pluto and Capricorn since 2028, we can expect a more community-oriented vibe to prevail under Pluto and Aquarius. However, I feel that we might also need to be on the lookout for authority figures, because Pluto rules power, authority figures who could try to capitalize on people's desire to take action that benefit the greater good. It's really up to us as individuals to determine what is in our best interest and what will really be helpful and nurturing to people and the planet. So, in a way, Pluto in Aquarius puts the power back in the hands of the people. Aquarius is such a humanitarian sign. So this is big. We're going to feel the energy shifting. It's been building. It's been teetering between Capricorn and Aquarius for a couple of years now, but it's kind of like the grand finale. Okay, November 19th, Aquarius, here we go. You know. Now let's look at some other astrology this month. November 15th, Saturn stations direct, initiating a cycle that will last until July 13th of 2025. Saturn stationed retrograde on June 29th of this year. And since that time, there's been an emphasis on what we can accomplish on our own. It's been a great time to review our goals and determine if we still want what we even thought we wanted. So now Saturn will be moving direct. Starting November 15th, we're going to have the opportunity to take action on our top priorities. It's going to be a time to walk our talk and do some of the difficult things we know need to be done. So this is important for getting organized. And again, knowing we're going into a string of interplanet retrogrades, Saturn can be on our team to help us have as much solidified and organized as possible, going into a time period where there could be setbacks, miscommunications. We could have our original notes to rely on, for example, when working on a project with others. Now, I'll dig a little bit more into this Pluto and Aquarius energy. As I said, we've been building towards this since Pluto first stepped into Aquarius, March 23rd of 2023. So it's been walking the edge between Capricorn and Aquarius since then. I think Pluto in Aquarius represents the desire for freedom and the ability to let go of what's no longer working. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the world experienced the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Irish Uprising. So there's some revolutionary energy associated. I don't take that as a solid prediction, but I take note of, okay, this is a cycle. This is what happened. Pluto's planetary energy tends to prompt a thorough exploration of current circumstances and usually requires us to face uncomfortable truths. So the effects of Pluto are rarely subtle. The results of actions instigated by Pluto have lasting ripple effects that leave a mark in the record books. So as I mentioned, we officially enter Pluto in Aquarius November 19th. Because unlike the past couple years, Pluto will not be going back into Capricorn. And in fact, not in our lifetimes. It's about another 250 years before that would happen again. So for the next 20 years, Pluto will be in Aquarius, and we can expect to feel the effects of entering a new era. Like I said, I'm not ruling out revolutionary activity like those of the past. It could be possible, but it could also be a time of firsts where historical events, unlike any others from the past, unfold because there's a very inventive quality to Aquarius. So no matter what happens, we're not likely to fall back into the same problems. We may uncover difficulties we hadn't been able to imagine. There's a possibility of exciting new developments, though, that could help us feel more free and connected to our fellow humans because Aquarius rules technology. I do definitely think that tech is going to play a very strong role in societal changes over the next 20 years. I think in our personal lives, we could feel energized to try something new or break out of a limiting circumstance. People might be more willing to take a risk in order to better their situation, especially if they haven't been happy under their current status. This could result in changes to our work lives and living conditions. I almost think of unconventional lifestyles such as off the grid or communal living maybe becoming more popular under Pluto in Aquarius. Now, let's look at the full moon. We haven't talked about either of the moons this month. So we've got a full moon on the 15th of November in the sign of Taurus. And remember, that's the same day that Saturn is stationing direct. Now, this is, I think, good news. Taurus is such a grounded sign, and Saturn is also very practical and realistic. So I feel like at this November 15th full moon, we'll get a really realistic picture of what's been going on and maybe what needs to be done on a practical level. Full moon energy, again, can set our emotions out of whack. What's out of balance for Taurus? Well, it can be a stubborn energy. So watch out for that around the middle of the month and consider if you're being too stubborn about something, or if someone else around you is. Wait a few days after this full moon, and then you'll probably have an easier conversation if you're trying to get them to see your point of view. Now, the new moon is what kicks off the month. So we've got the new moon on November 1st, and it's going to be in Scorpio. It's November, let's see, sorry, I'm just catching up with myself. This is a really good new moon to make wishes or set intentions in any of the areas that are ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio rules intimacy, soulmates, deep emotional connections, commitment. It also rules compulsions, right? Obsessions, living on the edge, passion. There's so much wrapped up in here. So if you are working with any of these psychological issues, this is a great new moon to help steer yourself in a more healthy direction. If you have been obsessing on something, for example, or you want to bring an intimate partner into your life, this is a great new moon for that, or improve the intimacy in your existing relationship. So that's the new moon that kicks off the month. There's so much other exciting stuff going on. I definitely want to give a nod to the moons. But let's talk about also a big headline, which is this Mercury retrograde we got going. November 25th to December 15th, Mercury will be retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius. During this Mercury retrograde cycle, the focus is going to be on our values and our beliefs. The timing is going to be beneficial to either finish a course of study or any other uncompleted program. Remember, you can be really productive during Mercury retrograde when you are finishing something that's already been started. So I think it will help us take a more optimistic approach to life, because Mercury is ruling our thought processes. Sagittarius tends to want to find the best case scenario. So you may review something that recently happened that you had been not feeling so good about. And when you look at it again in retrospect during the Mercury retrograde, you may find some things to be grateful for and gain resolution on that event that had been bothering you. That's one positive way that the Mercury retrograde can play out. It's also the ruler of travel, and Sagittarius rules travel, particularly international travel. So Mercury retrograde cycles generally increase the likelihood of delays and miscommunications. Anyone traveling during this time period should take care to double check reservations, allow extra time to arrive at their destination. It's a beneficial time to return to our favorite locations or reconnect with loved ones from afar. So I think the things to watch out for during this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is avoid being overly idealistic in our planning. It's not going to be good timing to make big decisions because we'd probably gloss over important details. Oh, what could possibly go wrong? Uh, and we can maximize these days by taking time to reflect and write down some of our bigger visions for the future. So there's a lot to work with there. And just remember, even though the Mercury retrograde will end December 15th, at that point, it's overlapping with a Mars retrograde that starts in early December and goes through February. So just know, keep these dates in mind. I'm going to walk you through it month by month because it's kind of overwhelming to hear all the retrogrades coming our way. But just know November to mid-December, okay, that's a Mercury retrograde. Early December to February, end of February, that's going to be a Mars retrograde. Okay, March 1st, that's going to be a Venus retrograde. Somewhere in there is also a Mercury retrograde, and it all clears up by April 12th. So knowing that's coming, you can really strategize to be so productive finishing things that you have already been working on now, or maybe that you've been procrastinating. Um, as the month begins, Venus will be in Sagittarius, lighting up our desire for excitement and adventure. So during the first 10 days of the month, we could be inspired to travel, get out in nature, and feel more freedom in our daily lives. The beginning of the month is a great time, actually, for a romantic getaway. And single folks could meet someone interesting on a hike or other nature-oriented outing. So get out and about in the beautiful October weather. On November 11th, Venus will move into Capricorn, where it will remain until December 6th. During these days, we could take pleasure in being productive and working towards a long-term goal. So save tasks that really require your dedication and commitment for the second half of the month, because you'll probably enjoy doing them more. In the first half, you're going to want to get out and play. As the energy slows around November 25th, you'll have what it takes to keep focused on the small steps necessary to keep you on track. And I think relationships could feel more grounded, and you'll be thinking about the practical aspects of what you want to do. If you have a relationship decision to make, try to come up with a solution before before November 25th. Otherwise, you may just need to put things on hold for a few months and wait for better timing for big decisions in the second half of April. Just depends where you're at with all that. The last thing to touch on is that we are already in the shadow phase of the next Mars retrograde cycle that will begin next month on December 6th. So on November 3rd, Mars will enter Leo. And it's going to remain in Leo for longer than usual due to this upcoming Mars retrograde. Mars in Leo is a powerful expression. It can bring out people's selfish side. So we're going to need to be really mindful about other people's personal boundaries and be sensitive to how our actions may make those around us feel. We can use this Mars in Leo energy to muster the courage to tackle a new challenge. So the days between November 1st and 24th are going to be the best time to make a presentation or put ourselves out there in some way. As the month progresses, we're going to be encouraged to focus on personal goals that we can accomplish without having to compromise with others. It's going to be a good time to develop a creative skill and cultivate our self-confidence. And anything we set in motion during the first few weeks of the month has the potential to be developed and fine-tuned in the coming months, while Mars will be retrograde until February 23rd of 2025. So I know that was a lot, but I want you to have kind of the lay of the land as we're moving into the end of the year and the beginning of 2025. I wish you a peaceful and productive month of November, and I will be back with your forecast in December.